There are many videos, strategies, and training methods you can use to become a better chess player. They all take a lot of time and a lot of reps. But if you want to instantly become a better chess player, this is the video you need to watch. These are 30 sentences taken from the greats that will light up a spark in your chess abilities and make you a better chess player as soon as you finish watching this video. Each sentence is a lesson on its own, so make sure not to miss any. Let's start with number 1, the one I'm most guilty of doing. Don't play hope chess. Don't play a game and plan your moves hoping your player makes a mistake or follows some weird pattern that will lead to a checkmate in 4 moves that you saw on a TikTok clip. Play smart chess and calculate your moves effectively. Number 2. If you can't win, don't lose. In some cases, this principle might make your opponent irritated, but if you can't win a game, look for a draw, whether it's by stalemate or trying to make your opponent run out of time. But of course, if you're down a queen, a rook, a bishop, and 3 pawns 10 moves into the game, you should just resign with your dignity and move on to the next game. Don't bring your queen out too early. Although the queen is a powerful piece, if you bring it out too early, it just ends up getting harassed by your opponent's pieces, and you waste a lot of time. You will fall behind on development and your opponent will have a much better position. If you're over 200 elo, stop trying to win using the scholar's mate. Yeah, I'm talking to you right now. Control the center. The center of the board is the most critical area in chess. Controlling it gives you more options and a stronger position. A piece standing in the center can participate in a play on both sides of the board and gives you an advantage over your opponent's position. Develop your minor pieces early. If you have your openings memorized, you know that you should develop your minor pieces first and early. Make sure you move your knights and bishop out from their starting positions as soon as possible to create open lines for your pieces. Castle early for king safety. Castling is essential for king safety. Make it a priority in the opening and try to castle before the 10th move to ensure your king is safe. Don't move a piece twice in the opening. You want to make sure each move is giving you a slight advantage. Instead of moving the same piece multiple times, prioritize developing your other pieces. If you're moving the same piece multiple times in the opening, it means you're not developing your other pieces and you're gonna fall behind in development and probably get into a worse position. Look for threats before every move. Always consider your opponent's potential threats before making a move. Try to see what your opponent's strategy is and whether you're falling right into his trap. Trade when ahead. If you have a material advantage, consider trading pieces to simplify the position and reduce your opponent's counterplay. Staying in the topic of trading, trade pieces, not pawns when you're ahead on material. When you think about trading, you want to simplify the position, but keep pawns on the board to be able to queen later on. Trading off the pawns will most likely lead to an endgame that cannot be won and end in a draw. But the complete opposite should be done when you're down on material. Trade pawns, not pieces, when you're down on material. Trading pawns will limit your opponent's chances of winning and gaining an even bigger advantage and may help you end the game with a draw. Understand the value of each piece. When trading, you need to know the relative values of chess pieces in order to decide whether a trade is a win, loss, or an equal. Pawns are worth 1 point. Knights and bishops are worth 3 each. Rooks are worth 5 points each and the queen is worth 9 points. Don't trade a bishop for a knight without having a good reason. Even though they are both worth 3 points, generally speaking, bishops tend to be slightly better than knights. Don't trade your knights and bishop for a rook and pawn. Although a knight and bishop are worth the same 6 points of material as the rook and pawn, however, having a knight and a bishop on the board gives you a better positional advantage and chance to win than a rook and a pawn. This exchange generally happens in a position like this one, where the knight and bishop are traded in order to win a rook and a pawn. I used to do this move all the time, and it leads to a worse position for you. Look for pins, forks, and skewers. These tactical moves can help you gain material or create threats against your opponent's pieces and give you an advantage. Plan your moves ahead. Always have a plan for your next few moves rather than making impulsive moves. Look for all the possible moves you can play and plan out the sequence to calculate which one will give you a better advantage over your opponent. Rooks should go on an open or half-open files. Most of the time, a great move to play is to put your rook on an open file or a half-open file, which is a file that only has one colored pawn on it. This way, they control more squares and provide some attacking power and a lane on the enemy position. Get your rook on the 7th rank. Just like putting your rook on an open file, if you have the opportunity to do it, putting your rook on the 7th rank is almost always a good idea, as it creates multiple opportunities to attack. But of course, make sure not to do it when you're under a threat of back rank checkmate. Avoid doubled pawns at all costs. Doubled pawns will give your position a disadvantage since it will block the pawn from moving and will also result in that file being almost closed off. Same as avoiding doubled pawns. Avoid isolated pawns. Isolated pawns are pawns that have no other pawns on the adjacent files of the same color. This will leave your pawn vulnerable to attack and very weak. If you have 2 pawns that can capture, always capture towards the center. When faced with a chance to trade material and you have 2 options to capture, always think of capturing towards the center. This is always a slightly better position to be in. Piece activity over material. Active pieces are often more important than material advantage, so sometimes moving your pieces away from a threat into a better, more active position is a better move than trading off a piece. Practice endgame checkmates. Learn to execute checkmates with limited material in the endgame, such as the king and queen versus king, 2 rooks or 2 queens versus the king, a rook and a king versus a king, or a queen and knight versus a king. Learning these will increase your win rate and avoid draws and stalemates. Use your king in the endgame. During a game, your king gradually becomes more and more important, and in the endgame, it's crucial to make use of it and move it to gain advantage of your opponent. Don't let it sitting on the side. Before we move on to number 24, it's important to note that all of these points can be expanded endlessly, but I am simplifying them into sentences to make it easier for you to learn faster. Just like what Brilliant.org does, which is the sponsor of today's video. It is the best way to learn math, computer science, or data science that doesn't cost thousands of dollars or take years and years of schooling. It's actually free and easy. Just like these chess sentences that can make you better instantly. For example, number 24, trade your pieces in a cramped position. When you find yourself in a cramped position, which is often in the opening, consider trading off your pieces to make room for other pieces to move and open the position for attacking play. Learning this sentence right now has made you 1% better as a chess player instantly. Using Brilliant.org will have the same effect on you. Let's say you want to learn more about probability and statistics. This way, you will be better at calculating fair piece trades and position probabilities. You can do that easily with Brilliant.org, a fun and interactive way to learn with thousands of lessons from basics to advanced topics, and more added every month. Whatever your skill level is, Brilliant customizes content to fit your needs and lets you solve at your own pace. In this probability course, for example, you have many subtopics you can choose to learn, like a basic introduction, applied probability, and way more. This is just one of the countless courses you can learn at Brilliant.org. To try everything Brilliant has to offer for free for a full 30 days, visit Brilliant.org/rookmoves or click on the link in the description. The first 200 of you will get 20% off Brilliant's annual premium subscription. Now back to making you a better chess player. Opposite colored pawns are powerful in the middle game, but drawish in the end game. Having opposite colored bishops means that you have a white squared bishop while the opponent has a dark squared bishop, or the opposite. This can be powerful in the middle game as it can create threats that can often be hard for the opponent to defend against and leads to a loss. However, in the end game, having opposite colored bishops often leads to a draw, since the game is balanced and no player can gain an advantage over the other. Always look for checks, captures, or threats. This is a principle by none other than Gotham Chess. It states that when deciding your next move, you should always calculate exactly what this move does. First, look for ways to check your opponent. This may put you on a checkmate road. If checks aren't available, look if there are any captures you can do that can give you a material advantage, or material trade that leads to a positional advantage. If that's not available, look for threats. What is your opponent trying to threaten you with? What are they trying to do and how can you defend against that? Or look for threats that you can do yourself, whether it's preparing for a sequence of moves or threatening to win a free piece. Before we move on to the final 3, subscribe to the channel, it really helps. Number 28. When you see a good move, wait for a second and look for a better move. Sometimes the best moves you see may not be the actual best move, so when you see one, take a second and look for an even better move. Maybe instead of capturing a free rook, you can deliver a checkmate. Or maybe instead of capturing a free queen, you can play a move that allows you to capture a queen and a rook. Now our second to last sentence is crucial. Know when to forget all principles and play against them. A new player should follow all the principles to a T. This ensures the best position and the best chances for winning the game. However, great players know when to forget all about chess principles, whether it's doubling your pawns or putting your knights on the side, which is a bonus principle number 31. And play their move and turn it into a winning position. Remember that chess has many possibilities and many positions, so sometimes playing by the book is the worst move. But as a standard, follow the principles, but know when to play against them. And finally, the most important sentence you will ever hear: enjoy the game. Ultimately, chess is about enjoyment and intellectual challenge. Embrace the journey and play for the fun of it. Challenge your friends and challenge yourself to grow even more. Don't forget to enjoy the game and don't let it make you go insane like what happened with the other person, you get me? Enjoy chess and enjoy some other videos from my channel. They are pretty awesome if you watch them.